Salting the earth, as I'm sure you're familiar with, is actually even, I would say, poignant, fitting to what we're doing here today, talking about this, because, of course, it was a British war tactic at one point in time, as it was Roman and many other oligarchs and empires used this, which, of course, was the idea that you would take over an area, a region, cripple it economically, personally, and then you would go in and prevent it from being able to recover in any type of feasible way. And the best way to do that would be to cripple its ability to produce crops or to be able to farm, to turn the land infertile. One of the best ways to do that would be to, quote unquote, salt the earth. So, yes, you would churn in a bunch of salt into the earth. The water, whatever you would water in that earth, would become heavily saline, and the plants would not able to be process it, and that would be a difficult thing to overcome. So likely you'd have that people displaced, having to spread out or move to a different area, and you wouldn't have to worry about another future resurgence in an area that maybe you didn't have the resources to actually police or keep an eye on. So and the reason I use it here is because clearly, from what I could tell, is that the ultimate kind of finishing blow to point out the pure disgusting character trait inside Bill, which does exist and was pointed out poignantly, also caused a heavy level of offense to those in Bill's little group, that I dared to notice it, number one. Second, that I dared to vocalize it. And they've been very, very upset about that. And part of the ramifications of that I'm about to show you. And basically what I had said was the following, and allow me just to give a little pretense before I share what I have to share with you. Is a period of time, not too long ago, that Bill's daughter died, around about 3 to 4 weeks ago. I don't know the exact date. And during that time, surrounding that time, immediately before that time, pretty much immediately after that time, you see a monumentous amount of time that was spent towards streaming. And not streaming in the sense of like what you might expect, which would be, well, my daughter is deathly ill. I stream to commune with my brothers and sisters and fervently pray and request that the Lord would save my daughter, whom I desperately love so much. That might be what you would expect of a man of actual character, but that's not what you saw. What you saw was a whole series, a bunch of them, day after day, in many instances, of hate slander streams, insulting, mocking, making fun of, slanderous, untruthful things, just being thrown out there at whim, full rampant engagement in rumor, assumption, and nonsense, just for the sake to attempt to strike at someone who claimed to be a believer in Christ. The pure beautiful hypocrisy of it is that Bill is I would say, a hypergracer. Is probably the best way to put it right now, colloquially. Which as in basically, once you accept Christ, there's no sin you can commit or ultimately be ensnared into that could possibly compromise your salvation. So essentially means that you could be a full-blown rapist and an admitted Christian and still be perfectly fine and on the pathway to salvation inside Bill's theology. I find it kind of obtuse and grotesque and leading to a whole bunch of philosophical quandaries and inconsistencies. He definitely is not honest in his communications about either defending the doctrine or actually even really presenting it, which creates additional problems to actually confronting him on it. But he doesn't want to be confronted. He doesn't want to be convinced of the truth. He just wants to be convinced of what he already believes. And this reeks all over his particular behavior. So yes, the thing that I had noticed and put the video out at was, hey, Bill, I've noticed that what I might have expected you to do surrounding your daughter's untimely demise would be to dedicate time to talking about that, praying for that, focusing on that type thing. But no, you're doing a bunch of mocking, slanderous hate streams all over the place about me in particular. So much so, ladies and gentlemen, that I was receiving messages from people I didn't even know, who didn't even know me, who were asking me, I don't know really who you are or what this is about, but Bill is doing mountains of content on you. What's the situation type thing. Just random human beings. Just random human beings. And this is what's happening. So, I found it a little bit surprising, honestly. In fact, even Will Kincaid was kind enough to grab a couple of those clips to work into that video that we put out there that apparently caused such a triggering. Now, let me show you the ramifications of that triggering. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just share my screen here for just a moment. I'm going to show you, this is Ministry of Reconciliation's channel. And what you will see is actually a suspicious bunch of holes in the content. Let me just zoom in here. You see a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 1 month ago. But oddly enough, what you don't see, and you don't see anywhere, where you would have seen had you gone to this channel about, a week or so ago, what you would have seen is a whole bunch of streams with mocking images of the face he pulled that he thought was me, which, the payoff would have been so much better, even moving beyond that. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Anyway, tons of mocking streams, tons of poking fun, insulting. And why is this happening? What you might ask is because that he himself and his little group of sycophantic, hypocritical retards thought that I was being too insulting. So what is the answer when you think that someone is being insulting who shouldn't be insulting because being insulting is wrong? Well, the answer is to go be insulting. That's how you operate and show you are a trash-brained burnout Zoomer. This is what Bruce does. This is what Bill does. This is what they all do. Bruce, I don't think I need to necessarily entertain your mindless, spineless, bizarre, passive-aggressive pontifications right now. I'm attempting to get through something. So, here we are. So I just want to show you that all of the content, the mountains of it, quite a few streams, hours and hours and hours of it, and particularly hours and hours and hours of it, surrounding his daughter's untimely demise. And I pray to God that her soul is with her in safety and bliss. Despite that, ladies and gentlemen, he's now removed all of this content. And I think I know why. Because, of course, it is evidence. It is evidence that shows that what I said about him was actually very close to home and actually accurate. That he, as much as would talk about the pain he has around his daughter's difficulties, physical difficulties, sadly, when it comes to an actual ability to demonstrate it inside his character, his decisions, his prioritization of time, and his faith, he is incapable of it. And now he's gone back in time to attempt to, what I believe, hopefully rewrite history, to remove all of the content on me. And ladies and gentlemen, there was quite a bit sprinkled in here. And it is every bit of it, last one of it. You almost wouldn't think he ever said anything about Smokey at all. Well, now that's interesting. And also remove all the streams he was doing immediately surrounding his daughter's death, which would show that what I said, that he really didn't care that much about his daughter, sadly, it's actually true. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, sad to say, but this is a rumor that was going around a bit in the community for a bit. Now, I'm not talking about the rumor Ryan the Presbyterian was throwing out there. I have no reason to believe that was true. Ryan the Presbyterian was going around during the last Civil War with them and saying, oh, Bill's daughter is hemorrhaging internally because she was brutally raped by her father when she was a child. Yeah, this is what the type of stuff that Ryan the Presbyterian was willing to go around and slanderously say in his pure, unchecked fleshly hatred, of which Ryan the Presbyterian, I believe, is still full party to. and still completely 100% indulging himself in with his antics and his complete obliviousness to any sense of Christian ethics or morality. So, but anyway, to get back to the core point, if I may, is that the reaction to me pointing out this unsavory truth, number one, is rage, anger, and frustration amongst his friends, not an ability to actually retort what I said at all, because I think the actions speak for themselves. And I pointed out those actions. And that apparently was poignant enough, direct enough, true enough. Bill went ahead and went in here and hit all the evidence, probably hoping that I wouldn't say anything else about it and give a period of time. He might be able to completely rewrite history and just ignore that little video I did pointing out his disgusting, subpar, substandard, inhumane positioning towards his family, that might just disappear. That at some point, with the separation of enough time, he might end up having some plausible deniability. Well, I'm making this video to now try and crush that. And why? Well, because of Andy Cap. Yeah, you see, as I had said on Will Kincaid's stream last week, I was actually happy to kind of like move on, to let it go. Bill had removed all the content. Yes, it showed something very interesting to me that he did, but let's move on. Andy came into the comments and said he wanted peace, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm just going to leave it alone. Well, Andy Cap just keeps coming back like the weird, spindly, Asperger's ridden retard that he is. Some sort of obsessive mental illness makes him have to come back just about every 8 hours or so to say something else. I don't go to their channels. Don't harass them. Don't leave comments. Don't even try. Yet they're constantly here. Weird. Yeah, I believe it. I believe it, Guru. I believe it. You'd be surprised at what people had to go through to get Twitter to remove actual predatory videos. Like the guy finds videos of him being raped as a kid and has to get a freaking court order to get it removed. How about that? Yeah, no, I know. What, you don't think Silicon Valley is sensitive to the abuse and propagation of child abuse? You don't think that they are gleefully happy to push for all of the policies? You know what's funny? For 4 years, I had to listen to raging retards like the Rat Roach Ronnie talk about the kids in cages, the detention centers. Oh my goodness, the horror. We had to watch AOC run down there and play her little nonsense charade of crying in front of a parking lot and all that crap, all that stupid garbage. We had to listen to this garbage for 4 years. Well, guess what? Those kids in cages thing is now worse than ever. Right now, it's worse than ever. There's a whole-blown stinking border crisis down there. The detention centers are overflowing, inhumane conditions, people stinking of crap, stuffed together like sardines behind a bunch of fences, other people who are trafficking children for sex slavery, just basically being allowed to run across the border at whim. And this is all the policies the Democrats push for. You know what? Democrats, pretty much any Democrat, talking about how they care about the exploitation or abuse of children is just basically virtue signaling just for show. When it comes down to it, they don't do crap. They don't give a crap. They don't even have the ability or the critical thinking to even rationalize the fact that they are ending up pushing for the exact things they claim to not want. Ridiculous. I'm going to do a thing with annihilationism stuff here too here in a little bit. Here, we're going to do another stream about that. I'm starting to get irritated. With the soul sleep, annihilationism, weird, nonsensical, atheist instigated horse crap we all feel we have to philosophically pontificate through. You're all engaging in a bunch of nonsense. I hope you all know this. There's a reason I haven't tackled this as some sort of poignant thing that has to be, worked through here on my channel. There's a reason I've been relatively sympathetic to people who might be, somewhat on one side or the other. But at a certain point, it's gotten ridiculous. You people with the soul sleep and the minutia and the literalism and the absolutism, I swear, you know, pretty much all the heresies I've come across in this environment since I started all stem from absolute full-blown retarded hermeneutics. I do think that that's the case. That, yeah, I know. Well, I've had a bit of coffee. It was bound to happen. It's all good, Guru. It probably needed to be said. Praise the Lord. Hopefully it was useful. It needed to be said, needed to be gotten out there. Okay, whatever. Let's get back to our content. Okay, anyway. So Bill's missing content. So I went over why I think it was likely removed. I think he does want to hide, basically the evidence of the observation that I found about this. And it is kind of distasteful. It is kind of distasteful. It truly is. The sad thing is none of his supposed friends, would call him out on it. In fact, not only would they not call him out on it, not only would they not, even think this way, they will even go out of their way to try and refute it without actually giving a refutation. Just deny it. Just deny it. It's there. It's pretty blatant. I think it's hard to deny, but they will deny it just out of their desperation for their emotional egotism. So anyway, went over that. The idea that Bill was not taking care of his daughter, and again, moving past the whole Ryan the Presbyterian saying the reason that his daughter was hemorrhaging was because she was viciously raped as a child by Bill. I don't think there's any real credence to that, and I think Ryan was just saying that, as Ryan is a lying piece of garbage anyway. So he would have a tendency to throw some of that stuff out there. And I've heard Ryan go off on some of these people in some ways. But of course, as you guys know, I did ask for people to be sending me, information and things that they knew. And I've been getting a bit, and I'm choicefully trying to select that which is fit to use and where. But anyway, the rumor that was moving around was that Bill was not taking particularly good care of his child. This is not something that too many people were willing to put, a finger on, because of course, pretense, naturally. It seems like the type of thing that you wouldn't want to even say, even if it was true, because it makes you look like a monster. Such is the nature of the emotional environment which we found ourselves in. Ladies and gentlemen, you will not find me having to be enslaved, unfortunately, by any such pretense. Maybe unfortunate for emotions, but it is, of course, I think, fortunate for highlighting things that are truthful. Now, Bill's daughter, I believe, had if some people, had told me, it kind of like ballooned up a bit as her illness went through. And I could expect that to be the case with, lethargy, being something to happen with someone in her unfortunate condition. But Bill, to me, taking as much time as he did, all the time, seemingly during his daughter's ill state, doing all of these very long-winded streams about hypergrace, constant online antics, civil wars, backbiting, backstabbing, slandering over and over, left and right, having full-blown throw-out fits with these people, engaging in any type of really amoral, deviant tactic you can imagine to be done online. And Bill was happy to be a part of it and to do it, and all during the time that he would, I would expect, be supposedly asking for God to heal his daughter. But yet he's not doing that. He's spending all of his time and effort and energy engaging in all of these antics. And now he's gone back and hidden the evidence thereof. And so I'm doing this stream to point it out to you, that what was a channel with tons of content about me is now a channel with absolutely no content about me. And I think that tends to speak quite a bit, particularly as to what I noticed. Bill, you and your whole sycophantic group of circle-jerking retards really truly needs your own brand of repentance from this nonsense that all of you have been engaging in with near a year. I think there's a good reason that all of you OCD-ridden retards are so triggered and having to constantly fixate on me as obsessively as you all do, because you have not felt any semblance of conviction. like this before. Usually, I think you're able to let things roll off your backs because it doesn't manage to actually strike nerves. However, I do. And in your prevalent desperation to attempt to silence me, you're willing to basically abandon any semblance of ethics that might define you as a Christian to begin with. And I find it just a comical failure on the part of all of you, from Bruce to Sister Shitshine, all the way down to Ryan, the baby dick touching Presbyterian. Oh yes, there's something about that coming up on the show this evening, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. If you were wondering why Ryan the Presbyterian might take such incredible offense at even the possibility of being maybe called a baby raper by someone passively in a chat, well, there's actually probably a good reason for that, but we'll go over that this evening. Each one of these people are a disgusting, sycophantic, hypocritical, nonsensical failure of both a human being and a believer. Yet oddly enough, that seemingly was forgotten in some of the nonsensical, ridiculous, assumptive slander fests that each one of them were engaging on. But anyway, let's move on. Something else I wanted to mention, and this is also poignant, particularly for Andy Cap's sake, in terms of kind of putting a nail in the coffin of this ridiculous position and argument that he's posed in times past. And if you'll recall, the debate, if you call it that, it was a particular morning show. I forget which one. But Andy Cap had come in. Veckel was there. We had a discussion about the Universalist doctrine, the position that he holds. And of course, it was pure nonsense coming from him. And multiple times he said, which we all kind of noticed, and it's blasphemous statement. But he said multiple times that he knows what is true because God has his heart. As in, Andy was saying that God has his heart, which is how he knows what must be true, and therefore universalism must be true. On top of that he had a dream from God after praying to God. He had a dream that said that, well, his Father's in heaven. Don't worry about it. Okay, well, that might be true. That might even be the case. And that might even be fundamentally actually what's happening. But it doesn't mean universalism is true. And yet, nonetheless, this is the justification he uses for it. He couldn't answer that question. I did say, even if your Father was in heaven and that's what it said, why does that mean universalism is true? Your Father could be screaming in hell right now as we speak, yet to be redeemed, where he will ultimately be in heaven. And that's what God was showing you. You don't know. You don't know. It could very well be that, Andy. But, whatever. Andy's going to interpret it the way he wants to, just like everything that Andy interprets. So, Andy is a nonsensical trash clown heretic, a full-blown idiotic Brittard. In fact, we might be able to pinpoint with a little bit better ease the exact level of obsessive mental illness he might be suffering from if there wasn't, the cultural issue difference of him being British. So, but he is a full-blown Brittard. In fact, if you don't believe me, in fact, if you don't think that Andy is kind of a bit of a roaming, raving retard, go watch some of his content, particularly when he's on vacation. It's less vacation footage than it is what looks like body cam footage of a geriatric that happened to escape the old person's home. Like he almost wanders around in a bit of a fog, not really always seemingly knowing what's going on, and yet kind of surprised by everything. It's actually kind of comical. It's actually kind of comical. In some, and it's also kind of sad. It's also kind of sad. I do realize at this point I'm not really operating with a bunch of people here with a real full deck. It's kind of one of those things. So anyway, so yes, but the key point is that Andy had prayed to God, and God said, it's all good. Your dad's in heaven. Well, Andy did the same thing about me and Will. Did you guys know this? Will and I need to get better with that grammar situation. Not California slang sneak in too much. Will and Andy apparently claims, and I believe it was on one of these streams and also in a comment somewhere, but did claim that he had prayed to his God, and his God had answered Andy and said, Andy, don't worry about it. I'm taking them off YouTube. I'm crushing them. I'm removing them. Now, this begs the question of a couple things. Number one, that hasn't happened. That hasn't happened. at all. Andy seemed to think that's exactly what was happening when I was taking a little break to see to some personal affairs. That's what he thought, was that I was just gone. And he was rejoicing over it, leaving comments that I was gone and that his God told him that I was going to be gone. And this is the same God that told him that his dad's in heaven. And here I stand. Oof. Yeah, connect those dots, Andy. Think about that one. So Andy's God was going to, I don't know, remove me and Will because we are, quote unquote, an offense to the church. And God, as Andy said, faithfully removes offenses to the church. Ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is what Andy said. So Andy's God was answering Andy, who was praying fervently for the removal of Will and myself. Andy, do you spend that much effort praying against the pedophilic homo predators in the Catholic Church? I don't think they're doing a lot of good for the image of Christianity. Did you ever think about having a chat with your God about that? See if maybe he'd answer you about how he's removing, them. How about the prosperity preachers that are swindling thousands of dollars out of impoverished, gullible people? Can your God, maybe step on that a little bit? So your God just has the resources and the attention and the desire to direct your attention to a couple of shitlords on the internet, but is apparently phoning it in with Catholic homo predators and prosperity preachers. That's brilliant, Andy. That's just some pure big brain genius stuff going on there right now with your theology, Andy. That's incredible. That's incredible. That really blows my mind. Absolutely outstanding. Well, of course, you'll probably try to deny it, Andy, because it is truly embarrassing. and I believe the evidence is inside all of the content that Bill completely deleted about me. Bill, it's okay. My God told me. It's okay. Yes. Yes, I'm sure you're happy. I'm sure you are very happy that Bill removed all of this particularly embarrassing recent content, Andy. I'm sure. I did record some of it. I did. I'm saving it for the right moment. I'm saving it for. I really want to catch these degenerate, low-life, lying, deceptive sacks of subhuman crap, contradicting themselves and saying opposite things. I'm going to. I'm watching. I'm waiting. Again, I've collected a lot. On this little circus over here that's just been engaging in these ridiculous antics for next near a decade. Yeah. Including wondering why it is that Thick Shades happens to be so cozy with certain, I would say, escort services, including handling their websites, while he also happens to come back and forth from Korea on the regular. Isn't that an interesting series of, well, anyway, I'm not going to get into that. That's something else that's still kind of cooking and we might be collecting information on. But anyway, nonetheless, these guys are absolute ridiculous, nonsensical clowns, every last one of them. And yet, oddly enough, people seem to kind of forget about that if we don't draw attention to it, as we're kind of doing now. Because Andy apparently didn't get it. Andy, after saying, take the video down. Let's have peace. No more of this. Okay, I dropped it. But Andy comes back to keep poking here and there. In fact, after I ignored Andy after his last statement, pointing out how ridiculous he is, and he just comes back 8 hours later out of nowhere to say, you're triggered. Like, I didn't say anything. I haven't said anything in like 8 hours, and you're suddenly starting a new thread on the comment chain of the video, a whole new comment chain, and you're saying I'm triggered. I don't think you know what that means. Certainly you would need a reaction before you could claim that someone's triggered. Andy doesn't care how stupid he appears. Maybe he's not even of the level of appropriate IQ to notice it. It actually at this point it's possible, especially having looked at some of his content. Yeah, wow. Yeah, but we're not dealing with a bunch of sharpest tools in the tool shed here, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely not. Sad and tragic as it is. So anyway, so that's a ridiculous thing. Yeah, asking for peace. I just covered that. Okay. For that. Oh yes. Okay. And to finish up with the conversation, the notes from this morning of the last thing that he had said to me, and it looks like P Mars is in the back. P Mars, I'll let you in a second. Just hold on. Let's see here. The last thing. Oh yes. Now this is the funny thing. Just to bring note to, and I would like you guys to try and pay attention to this, because I do realize Andy has been pulling basically the same antics for next to a decade inside this community. Okay, which is basically nothing more than endlessly pontificating in an echo chamber about his universalism, and then failing wholesale at any type of actual defense of it. And basically, he treats his theology a bit like Plato at times. He can take a little bit out, he can add a little bit in, he can shape it to fit a certain argument or issue that he's trying to address. Very deceptive, very emotionally driven, very kind of cringy at times, actually, even with some of the justifications he attempts to shoehorn in. But that's the language he expects you all to relay to. If he starts trying to convince you with logic, he'll fail. So he has to rely upon emotion. I think he's at least a deceptive enough of a trash can idiot to have figured out that much so far, which is why everything that he argues is generally so emotionally driven. Like, oh, my dad's in heaven. How dare you? How dare you go against my theology and possibly say that my dear beloved dad might not be in heaven? Do you see? Do you see how the argument can so easily go? Do you see that this is part of the game? It's part of the game. It's part of the tactic. Andy is a deceitful, disgusting, rancid trash bag of a man. And actually, I do this hopefully and with such poignance and with such sincerity on the type of speech that I'm using. And I do mean every word of it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not being colloquial. Andy is a subhuman piece of garbage. He really is truly actual human shit. And I say that without even feeling the need to have to censor the speech in any way, shape, or form. It's really, truly, fundamentally what he actually is. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why, just real quick. If you guys, just in a general sense, if you're looking out there in the world and you happen to notice amongst a social group, someone has been pinpointed to be a murderer, as in someone who actually ends the physical life of another human being, there is no issue with you attributing all types of monstrous, equivocations to this person, pejoratives and insults. Okay, you have no issue with that. You have no issue looking at a physical human life murderer and saying, "Wow, you're a real human piece of shit." None of you, I think, really ultimately have any moral unctions at a fundamental level at being able to actually say that. Now, I would like you to realize that Andy Crap for brains is worse than that. Worse than the pejoratives that you would assign to the physical life murderer. Do you know why? Because Andy is a soul murderer, and he's a soul murderer for the worst of reasons. Okay, he's a universalist heretic accepting a damnable heresy, and he's so desperate for it to be true, so desperate for it to be the case, that he has to try to convince others so that he can validate himself that it is true. And in the process is all too happy to murder souls. There is no question in Andy Crap's brain that he might be wrong. And so because of that, he's out to evangelize everyone he can to his perspective, completely oblivious to any semblance of humility that he could be wrong about this. And he's willing to drag any and all of you straight down to the pit of hell with him, as long as it helps him validate his garbage theology. Andy Crap is a soul murderer, ladies and gentlemen, as is Dillahunty or Raging Rat Roach, although, not particularly an effective one, I think. But nonetheless still one of those. All the people we have sitting on the fence of the debate sphere, not really sure what to believe, kicking things around, juggling ideas, not really operating with any true sense of bias. And here we have these idiots, these heretical morons, these pieces of human garbage trying to run over to the fence, grab these people by the scruff of their neck and shove them down into the pit with them. And most of you will just sit and watch. And maybe there will be some amongst us who will see this situation unfolding with a sense of urgency it seems to deserve, and we will run up and we will attempt to slice off the hands of these degenerate soul murderers. Heretics, atheists, whatever you want to call them. And then many of you, the passive, soy-soaked betas, will try to stop us. That's kind of the environment, at least many of which I've seen up to this point, ladies and gentlemen. Andy has been pulling the same crap for a decade. Veckel has been arguing with Andy for a decade, ladies and gentlemen. It happened on my stream when Andy came in here and talked with Veckel that Veckel actually just pronounced boldly, that's heresy. That's heresy. Veckel himself has pronounced Andy as a heretic. I don't know if he's done it before. Probably has. Veckel's a pretty stand-up guy, and I don't expect him to ever really shy away from the truth or saying what's in front of him. Could have been. But it happened here. It happened here. Pointed out, exposed. And of course, you can expect me to point out exactly what he is and do it in such a way with such intent to where you all will associate a sense of urgency with the absolute toxic, detestable gutter trash that he is, so that you will avoid giving him any semblance of actual theological credibility, lest your very souls be compromised, ladies and gentlemen. I am not one to believe that the Bible was wasting its time giving us a whole series of warnings about avoiding damnable heresies and doctrines of devils. I don't think that stuff's in there just for fluff or to keep you guys from losing rewards. I think it's in there because it's very important for you to avoid heresies and damnable devil doctrines. I think that's probably actually pretty freaking important to your salvation. Now, you might believe otherwise, but I want you to realize that if you are, you're probably betting your soul on that. So be sure, study a lot. In fact, look into it like your freaking soul depended on it. How about that? How about that? How about every last freaking one of you develop a semblance of critical thinking and a spine and start actually analyzing this crap that is spoon-fed to you by some of these degenerates we have to share this environment with? I'm not going to do what they do. I'm not going to call for their canceling. But I will point them out. I will point them out. I will make examples of them. I will use them as opportunities to enlighten as many as I can, to avoid such disgusting, toxic, and dangerous nonsense. It doesn't even make sense on its surface. A slight bit of critical thinking to half the crap that Andy says, and you know it's complete and utter nonsense. He can't even stay theologically consistent for 3 comments. Starts with the comment. What does he start with the comment of this morning? Well, the triggering, of course. Starting with the triggering. All right, triggered. Yeah, all right. Well, we'll do a video. And we'll talk about it. Go ahead. Why not? I'll be triggered for you, Andy. Let's do it. Talks about how he's trying to correct me with scripture, right? Trying to correct me. Okay. Trying to correct me with scripture. Then he goes into how he's not supposed to judge people outside the church. So he's not supposed to correct people outside the church. Then he goes back to he needs to correct me using scripture. Back and forth. Back and forth. Plato theology. He did this in the very comments this morning. You don't believe me? You can go look at it. It's in the, what is it? The video, House of the Rising Shonda. Go look up that video. Go look at the comment chain that Andy instigated this morning. And just see it for yourself. Absolutely no awareness. Absolutely no sense of self-awareness at all. Cringy, embarrassing, ridiculous, stupid. All around. Okay, well, P. Mars is here. P. Mars, would you like to say something?
Yeah, well, I guess first of all, we got Bruce. I mean, he's just a hypocritical mess and a disaster. I think the passages that most apply to Bruce in the Bible to me would be like, don't throw pearls before swine, or don't give to dogs what is sacred. Because, like, I don't know, I've tried to talk to that guy, and it's really, like, it's a brick wall, and he's...
Well, I got something for Bruce. I'm cooking here in the near future as well. He'll just have to be a little patient, because I got, of course, things we've been doing with Will and other antics and other stuff on the plate. But anyway. Yeah,
but then, so with Bill, the thing that I think of, and I think I've talked about this before, it's like, I think it's kind of wrong to advertise your life's problems like that, what he does.
That's good, P. Mars, yeah.
Yeah, it's like reminds me of the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus talks about if you're fasting, put oil on your face, so like people don't know you're going through that.
P. Mars, thank you for saying that, because I pointed this out multiple times with the people inside these communities, particularly Bruce, Bill, Andy, Ryan, the Presbyterian. They're a bunch of trauma-bonded sycophants. So what it is they all discuss their trauma, they bond on their trauma, and they discuss their trauma, and they all give each other empathy points for their trauma. It's a very sick, disgusting, ego-driven, nonsensical.
I think it's the Antichrist. Behavior. It's the Antichrist spirit, really. Like, it's what you see that it's being promoted with the youth. They're all like, you get social credit for, I went through this difficult experience, and then everyone's supposed to like, give you a GoFundMe or like think you're such a good person or something.
Right.
And that's the Antichrist mentality. Like everyone has problems. Everyone goes through crap. Like, you shouldn't be put yourself grandstand on the internet like, I'm better than you because I went through these problems in life or whatever. And that's kind of what they're doing in a way. And I think it's wrong. And not only that, a lot of YouTubers, and I don't know Bill that well, I know a lot of YouTubers will scam and lie. So when I see someone on YouTube like doing a fundraiser and being like, I had this horrible thing happened to me, I got cancer, I got this or that. Like, I tend to not even believe them because so many people, like, con and scam on YouTube. So I don't like it when people do that on YouTube, and especially Christians. And then what else is there?
Well, P. Mars, you've seen me point it out now multiple times in multiple environments and multiple communities. Rage himself was using his daughter as a token for grifting to attempt to get those emotional points, and has, thank God, since seemingly stopped doing that. But this is what all these people do in these games they play, and I am disgusted by it, hence I've been attempting to point it out. And I think Bill's been guilty of that especially, which is why now he's removed all that content and basically stopped streaming. I think now he is attempting after the fact to pretend that he actually did care about his daughter's death, and then hopefully be able to rewrite history from what I actually noticed, which is fairly disgusting.
Because it seems like you're like exploiting your children.
Yeah, Bill, you're a disgusting garbage human being. You really, truly are. And no matter how you try to hide the history, the fact will remain that is what you did. That is what you did. That is what you did around your daughter's death. That is how you acted. That is how you behaved. That is how you reacted. That you were laughing and effing it up with Andy and Thick Shades and all these other trash clown degenerates. Not even, I think, a day after your daughter was dead, or probably wasn't even cold, and you were doing streams and laughing it up and doing a bunch of mocking crap on Smokey and all this other stuff. So you know what? It's been put out there. So now, as much as you want to try to hide it, Bill, it shows what disgusting gutter trash you actually are. And the fact that your friends defended it, not only defended it, but now are also going to try to help you hide it. All of you are truly disgusting, reprehensible, subhuman, amoral pieces of trash. Every last one of you.
I'm really disappointed in a lot of modern Christians.
Damn you, Bill. You know what? I actually was praying for your daughter, Bill. You know that? You know that? And I wasn't even thinking about doing a video about your daughter or even really mentioning that until I saw blatantly what you were doing and how you reacted and how you behaved. I saw that you really truly didn't seem to actually freaking care, Bill. So guess what? That's why I was fine saying it, because it didn't make sense. Go ahead, P. Mars.
Oh, I kind of lost the train of thought there. We were talking about.
I went off a little. It's disgusting and it's irritating, and frankly, the fact that all of them are trying to help him basically now probably cover it up and pretend that's not the case. It's just gross. It's just really truly gross.
Oh yeah, I was saying that I am disappointed in a lot of modern Christians. They that's, you're saying how Bill and Rage, they had the same behavior with the children and talking about it, and like that's just shows, because he's the raging atheist, and he has definitely he has the Antichrist spirit. So there's the Antichrist spirit, I think, has infiltrated a lot of churches and Christians, and they have so like they were so quick to also group together, bear false witness against Smokey and slander Smokey, which is
important to be on guard.
Not biblical. Another thing. So it's like they don't even read the Bible. Well,
they were all willing to do it. They were all willing to buy into any series of assumptions, secondhand information.
Well, yeah, you know what it is? Whatever. It's like any piece of information I come across that it agrees with my bias, I'm just gonna believe it without even like checking into it. And that's like how most people operate, and it's you have to be more objective than that.
Mars, that's why I left that video with "you'll believe whatever you want to believe." Some of you that were a bit more aware would get exactly what I was saying. So yes, thank you for that. So there it is. Anyway.
So yeah, but then Andy, I'm not, again, Andy's one I'm not too familiar with. What I've seen from him, he seems a little hypocritical and
he's a garbage universalist, just like the stupid lizard that hangs out with Tog.
Well, I did have an interesting thought about universal
lispy little degenerate
salvation
moron. Sorry, go ahead, people.
I heard that the Rage, we talked about this, like he was maybe thinking about there's a higher power facing his deathbed.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, who knows?
Did he say this? Wait, was this said?
I can't remember where I heard this. I don't watch The Rage. I heard it from someone else.
I don't know how true that is. I've heard it. Well, I don't know. It would be that would be a refreshing and actually comforting thing to hear. If that would be the case. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, we do hope for Rage's soul. Ultimately, he is kind of a full-blown lol cow, but the hope is that ultimately, in his state, he'll have a bit of awareness and recognition, and then he'll feel that need to actually have to turn to the cross, as we all actually do need. So, but anyway, go ahead.
But for like an argument against the universal salvation is like, I don't know, maybe for all we know, when people do face that on their deathbed, maybe they do like come to Jesus.
We don't know, and that's why we're not supposed to really judge on that point too specifically. Well, I mean, I do have a stream coming up where I'm kind of doing exactly that, but of course it's tongue in cheek, so people understand what I'm saying when I do that. But you're right. That's not our position to judge the destiny of eternal souls. That's not our.
But of course, I think Rage is reprobate, and he'll just be like, "Great Spirit in the sky, forgive me for my sins. I commuted on YouTube. Okay. Then I'm done.
Good stuff. Thank you, P Mars. I appreciate you. Have yourself a good morning, and don't miss the show tonight, P Mars. You're gonna really
There's gonna be a show tonight
on Will's
Oh,
channel.
Thursday. Okay, right.
The link is
Is it?
below. Do
Is
not
it?
miss it. Do
Will it
not.
be
I'm serious.
simulcast? Is it simulcast?
It is
here?
not, because
No?
it is so epic. It is so unbelievable. It is such an antic of such incredible proportion that none of you will want to miss it. And it is only happening on one channel. So go down there and click on the link and set the reminder. It's happening on Will's channel. And I guarantee you, none of you are going to want to miss this. It even blows my mind, even right now as I'm sitting here thinking about it.
All right. Well, I'll check it out. Have a good rest of your day, everyone
Sounds
listening.
good.
Oh, and wait, to address what Jamie said.
What did Jamie say?
He said like I wouldn't like if he said I told my cancer story, but I'm unmonetized. That is cool, right, P Mars? Like I don't know. I'm not saying like every time you talk about your life or what. I'm just saying like the people that grandstand. I don't know.
Here's the thing. Let me tell you something. If you're not mentioning your trauma with the specific purpose of attempting to help someone through their trauma by highlighting Christ's redemptive power and how he brought you through it, if you're doing anything other than that, it might not be placed correctly. So do a little self-reflection.
I'm talking about the people that are trying to gain sympathy or
exactly.
get social credit.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
So like I'm not. It's not like because obviously I talked about my cat and like stuff like that, but it's.
Well, I wanted to know about your cat too. So
yeah, I'm not saying so. Like I'm not saying like never talk about bad things. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like. The people
I was willing to send you some cash for your cat too.
Actually, someone actually just offered to and did, so that was pretty cool. But I mean, I wasn't really looking for that. I was kind of like joking about it, but anyways. So yeah, I'm not saying in every case it's right. You can never talk about bad things, but like I'm talking about grandstanding.
When you people are being opportunistic trash clowns, I think you should be able to tell the difference.
Yeah. So. Anyways, all right. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, P Mars. Have a good day. Appreciate it. All right, guys. Well, I guess that's really kind of all I had. Jamie, I'm glad you're here. Oh my God. You know what, Jamie? Don't ever send me to unless you're going to give me a real specific timestamp. Don't ever send me to a Praise I Am That I Am stream to go listen to something or look at something. It's just almost next to unbearable anymore. Like I cannot listen to this festering, spineless, Asperger's ridden emotional retard, attempt to, passively address, anything put in front of him. I just don't have the stomach for it. Here's the thing I know for Praise. He is absolutely a spineless cockroach of a man. He's a complete and utter failure at doing anything really actually confrontational, ultimately. And he kind of, I think, at some level does know it. And it does kind of come out many times in the confrontation, the shaky voice, the, trepidatious delivery, the passive aggressive demeanor. He usually does many times suck at being controversial or certainly even contending with wits. He's definitely nearly fundamentally mentally retarded on both of those fronts. Okay. So Praise is at a bit of a handicap in terms of competing, both in wits and in terms of argumentation that would justify the use of such pejoratives. And because of the recognition of his pure, unadulterated, unfiltered failure on a regular occasion when he attempts to play these games, I think he's just decided he doesn't want to play anymore. So he just doesn't want to play the game. So now he will condemn the game because he has lost at it, basically. Praise has failed consistently now. And has, I thank God, been pinpointed for the laughing stock trash clown that he actually is. Thank God for that. Thank God that it has been highlighted to the benefit of the community. Thank God for that. And really, the only people you have still meandering around him are the same brain dead, sycophantic retards that were, always kind of over there hanging around and didn't seem to have any standards of theology, morality, or any real cares in the world for that which was actually true or right. It's about the environment. It's about the friendship, the camaraderie, it's not about truth. It's not about fellowship. I mean, they'll lie and try to convince themselves that it is, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not. It's all fleshly driven, and it reeks of it. It reeks of it, which is why they are consistently nothing but a bunch of nonsensical, contradictory theological failures over there. I mean, you're constantly going over there to attempt to argue against some sort of recent nonsense that Praise just happened to locate online. And why? Because Praise just basically believes almost anything that's put in front of him. It's just whatever you put in front of his face, he's going to pretty much just run with, and then you'll give him something else, and it's a flip of the coin. As to whether or not he feels his pride is affected, as to whether or not he'll accept this new thing that's been put in front of him. So a very disgusting, ego-driven, nonsensical, trash can soul of a man. Really, truly, fundamentally disgusting. But at least the more aware people in the community, and certainly those that have stuck around in the channel for some time, have had that highlighted for them. And now he's mostly nothing more than a joke and a meme. And thank God for that. Thank God for some of the work that has actually happened through some of this unpleasantness that we've had to deal with